What do you think is the biggest issue facing our city right now?
Oh, I think it's safety from a couple perspectives and infrastructure. I think from a safety perspective, it's that feeling of walking through streets and not being comfortable to do so anymore. And so from a crime perspective, but I also think it's safety from there's a visualization of individuals who are vulnerable and clearly in need of assistance, and so it's about their safety as well. It's about shelter. It's about basic services, and so I think there's a bit of a duality there. And in terms of infrastructure, honestly, it's everything from the pipes in the ground, which are never really exciting because once you do them, you can't see them anymore, and so there's no visualization there. But it is facilities. It's roads and park spaces and things like pools and fields, athletic fields and recreational fields. So I think those two challenges are the biggest that we're facing.
And what will you do about them?
I think we're going to continue doing what we've been doing over the last few years. We've tripled investment over the last number of years in water relining, replacement. We've reduced a number of water breaks on average that we're experiencing as of 2023. So we're seeing some of that return on investment now, and reduced water leakage. What we've done at the city over 2 years ago, and it's a major, it sounds simple, we're integrating the work of roadways, water, and planning, zoning and planning. They're now getting together to plan the work that gets done over the last 2023 and 2024. And so you're targeting the lines that have the most water breaks, but you're doing the road work at the same time because people do not appreciate when you dig up a road twice in 5 years. And so it means that those specific projects are more expensive because of that coordinated work, but it also means it's complete work. So those types of things, we've been planning for 3 years now on an indoor aquatic facility, as you know. And so moving that project forward, we've leveraged $110 million from the federal government. We've got some innovation with geothermal on that. And so those are kind of examples of how you just methodically continue to address it so that any dedicated mill rate, like I think we're talking about 0.4 for the aquatic center, for example, that is absorbable in a reasonable way over time as you're trying to replace, improve, catch up, those types of things.
And how do you do all of that on the infrastructure side and still address social issues that municipalities say they continue to face the brunt of?
Yeah, I think on the social side of things, we've been advocating, have received, and have stepped up to the table as a municipality, which I get pushback from sometimes from other mayors going, don't do that, that's not our job. And I go, it is. There are people. Those are people on our streets. And I found that, and you've heard me say this before, when we come to the table, even if it's modest, even if it's $100,000 for a warming center, well, the province steps in with $300,000. Now we've got a community-based organization that's running that for us. So there's an example of you continue advocating for those things. We have 60 lines of businesses plus social issues. And so we have employees to deal with those things, and you keep advocating. And anytime you can leverage dollars, community-based organizations, philanthropy, like private investment and stuff, that's really kind of where the magic happens. But the reality is we have a wide breadth and depth of what we do, and you just do it.
What is the key to a safe and a vibrant downtown?
Oh, we need people. We know that downtown, and we've been working away, chipping away at the things that appear to be barriers. And so the Housing Accelerator Fund, for example, there hasn't been parking requirements downtown, but allows us to look at some of the infrastructure work to support. So we don't have pipes in the ground that support density in a number of areas. So the Housing Accelerator Fund will help with that, will help offset costs to folks that want to go and do that. We've taken away the intensification levy, so there's not an additional 29% on a project that wants to proceed, because it's not viable then. And so trying to figure out how to incentivize development. We're not there yet, clearly, because we haven't seen it yet. But I think that you just reach a point where, okay, what if property tax exemptions, what if that's the next offer that we can do, that someone says, okay, I can get these numbers to work, I can make a modest return, and we can do something. We also own land. And so do you incentivize or grant land if folks are going to go up from a density? So you need people. But it's also about simple things like lighting, about the alternate response officers to respond to the safety concerns. It's about the street team that is doing compassionate outreach, connecting vulnerable people to the services that are available to them, and collecting data for when there's gaps, and we can actually share that and go, we need investment here now. It's about placemaking. The Square downtown, we did a $500,000 vibrancy grant earlier this year to downtown. We've focused on sidewalk replacement. We've focused on art in public spaces. Lighting for safety, but lighting, sound, music, art, those things add a sense of feeling to a community, which are really important. And sometimes when you're so focused on the mechanical or the technical stuff of pipes and sidewalks, you forget that people's interactions with their environment are as much about their feelings about a space as trip hazards in a sidewalk.
How we pay for everything that this city needs and wants without it costing too much?
Number one, I don't think you can, right? Fundamentally, and the stat, and this comes from Federation of Canadian Municipalities, is that of all the taxes collected in the country, from income tax at other levels, PSD, GST, and all of those things, municipalities would get 10 cents of that tax money, and we have 60% of the infrastructure. So that equation simply doesn't work. So we have lobbying at the federal level about changing the framework for how we get money. And what we're talking about is create a permanent fund for infrastructure so that we are all going to have water and wastewater projects, all of us, at different timings. So when you offer it and it's open for 2 years and then you got to spend it in 3, it doesn't necessarily hit where every municipality is at. So make a permanent infrastructure fund and even limit it to water and wastewater so that when we go to do a project, we know that we're in for 21%. Well, now we're talking because we've reduced the property tax burden. And you're just sharing, municipalities are the places where people work. That's where income tax is generated. That's where the wealth of the country is generated. And again, we're a heavy resource, so I know it's out in rural areas too, but from a municipal perspective, you need that. But you do need to you need to be honest about what's the work that we need to do, and you need to line it all up at the same time, like in a capital project that says this is what facilities need, this is what water needs, this is what... You have to actually get that information out so that you can methodically pick away at it so that you achieve progress to fix what you've got that's really old, to build into the new stuff and address the aging infrastructure so that you're replacing it in a way that you don't want to build something and then just say, okay, that was really hard, so we're not going to do anything for 10 years. You can't do that. You have to continuously, methodically do it in a way that you're continually growing, you're continually adding attractiveness and competitiveness to your city and serving the needs of your citizens. No one wants to be Calgary, where you haven't paid attention to your water system. And then you can look at it and prioritize and go, okay, what are the needs to haves, what are the nice to haves, and what are those things that make the quality of life here great?
Why should people vote for you?
I ran on and back in 2020 and was elected on, I think, the idea to create change and momentum at the City of Regina. And I think we've done that. It has not been pretty. It hasn't always been perfect. But I think what you're looking for always is progress, not perfection. And I think that we're there. We've pressed for financial accountability and transparency at City Hall. We've made some improvements. We have a ways to go. I've tirelessly advocated for other levels of government to help us address the homelessness, the addictions issue, the mental health issues, the safety concerns, and we're seeing success there. I think over the last 4 years, we've garnered a $230 million commitment from the federal and provincial government in terms of share of money that we get to invest in the City of Regina. And we have advanced critical infrastructure. Projects are going forward. We've gotten better at what we're supposed to, like the things that we're supposed to do, which include parks and recreational space, by the way. I giggle a little bit when people go, we're going to get back to basics. We do nothing but the basics. That's what we do. And it is a vast 60 lines of business, this type of thing. We've advanced projects. But it is hard because there's lots of pushback and you have to keep planning. Even if you can't proceed, you got to be ready to go. And so understanding where things should be located, understanding where you can garner private and public alternate investment. But if you don't have a plan in place, all you got is an idea and you talk a big game. So the planning requires a bit of investment. So continuing to do that. And then from a crime and safety perspective, again, we've got some things in place, and we're going to continue to build on them as it relates to the homelessness and addiction issues. We're going to keep getting better at that. But we've also added police officers and alternate response officers and those street teams to deal with that. And we're starting to see some success there too. Crimes against people and property is down year over year. And it could go back up again, but I think when you've got people to address it, you've got compassionate outreach happening at the same time. That's what I've been working on. We're seeing the improvements. We can continue to do those great things. We're attracting investment. We're being smart about prioritizing the things that folks who want to create jobs here need. And sometimes if we need to incentivize them, we should do that too. And so we have, real momentum and improvements happening. I've learned a massive amount from everything from sewers to forestry and also what the community needs and wants. And so I think if I was going to ask for the vote, I believe in term limits. I would like one more term to continue the momentum to set the next council after us, always looking forward as to what's going to make the city easier to run 4 years from now. And so I would ask for people's vote to kind of keep that work going. I have no big promise other than we're going to continue all of the work that we're doing in the areas that we're doing it. We're going to finish some of the projects that we've said we're going to do. We're going to plan for the next project so we set folks up for success in the future. And we're going to make the city a better place. That's the point, to make a city that everyone is proud of. And that is a work in progress at all times.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.